I'm a pretty big nerd all around. Definitely people think I talk a lot. Probably think I ask too many questions in class. I am never afraid to ask questions in class or in any situation. It can get on people's nerves sometimes, but I like to know things. Up until about halfway through my 8th grade year, the people I was around just sort of assumed that faith was a given, and that's what I did as well. We didn't really question what we believed or why. It was just sort of something that people believed because their parents told them, or because everyone else was also a Christian or believing in something. And so no one really thought about it. But about halfway through my 8th grade year, the people I was around started asking questions. Some were quizzical, some were a little more hostile, but all around, people started asking questions about why and what exactly I believed. And it started to get to be a lot. There were a lot of questions I didn't have answers to, and I did not know where to turn. As the questions kept coming, it started to be really exhausting. And I found myself questioning my own faith, and I found myself really trying to understand and putting a lot of effort into trying to understand who Jesus was, and still coming up short. And at points like that, I just thought it might be easier not to answer these questions at all, just to let my friends think what they think, and to let the people that I was around just say whatever they wanted to say and not really get my voice in at all. But that wasn't something I could continue with after I thought those things, because I thought back to the first moment when I accepted God and what that felt like, and I thought about my experiences up until that point and how God had been influencing me. And then once I started to get more and more into those questions, I thought about how God had come through on the previous questions. And it was no longer a question of, is this even worth it? But how can I make sure that this is something that continues to grow my faith and continues to keep people coming back with different questions? Learning that not everything has an answer and trying to align that with my own personal desire to get everything right really was a struggle for me, especially in that time period where everyone was asking me questions and I didn't have answers to a lot of questions, even after copious amounts of research. And God is really coming through with me in that and trying to help me understand what really matters in terms of getting everything right and what is shallow surface area things that really don't matter as much in the long term. And I'm really still working on that. Jesus preaches this thing of love and loving your neighbor as yourself and loving your enemies. And that's really hard to do if you can't understand where they're coming from at all. And so these questions have allowed me to grow my perspective in a way where I can try to understand others and try to understand where they're coming from. Having a bigger perspective helps me understand others and by extension, work on that love thing. My Story is a faith-based event run by students for students, and our goal is to share student stories and to provide a Christian outreach to other students. We found that the biggest reason why high schoolers tend to reject God or not care so much about God is because they have questions that aren't answered. And so this year, we really tried to put a focus on people's questions and how they're answered and how that brings them closer to God. And so we had people, when they're sharing their faith stories, talk about the questions that have really influenced them. And then we also brought in a panel of pastors for people to ask questions too. All of this really came together into an event that we thought was really awesome and ended up being a really major impactor on our school at the end of the year. It's only been a couple days since My Story, and we've seen many people come to God through the event. It was amazing. I'm really excited to attend University of Minnesota next year to study aerospace engineering. And I feel like God is really calling me to pursue new relationships and to have new perspectives and to really be able to connect with people in different ways than I ever have before. Jesus for me is love, and Jesus for me is hope and a plan and provision for this next step in my life, wherever that might lead me.